Hey you guys, what's up? It's Shannon again, and today I am doing a review for you for Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. I know I'm late on the draw with this one. I've heard so many good things about it. I don't know why it just didn't hit my radar yet until now, and I finally decided to read it. And I actually mostly listened to it on audiobook, so it was very interesting to listen to on audiobook, let me just say that. Actually, I'm going to talk about that a little bit more in a later part of the video, so bear with me on that. That's going to be a little bit of a hard part to go through, and I'm sorry in advance for any emotions that pop up during it, okay? Okay, so basically, the synopsis of Fangirl is about a girl who spent her whole life up until this point with her twin sister always having somebody that had her back. And she kind of, when they go off to college, they kind of split up a little bit. Like, her twin sister wants to kind of do her own thing, and it's really hard on our main character, who is Kath, short for Cather. Kath's twin sister, Ren, is the outgoing one. She's the one that's always, she's the one that everybody thinks is the pretty one, and she's the outgoing and social one, whereas Kath suffers from anxiety, a very severe case of anxiety from what I could read, and so she tends to stay in her room and by herself. She doesn't like talking to her roommate. She just wants to stay in her room and write fan fiction. And this is where it gets a little personal. I also suffer from anxiety. I mentioned earlier that I listen to this mostly on audiobook. Actually, I listened to the whole thing on audiobook, but I was listening to it on audiobook in the mall the other day, and it was at a certain point where her anxiety was really strong. It was after a lot of things had happened to her, and things were going from bad to worse in her mind, and she was just really struggling with herself, her sister, her classes, and then the anxiety on top of it just made it so much more difficult. And I was listening to that on audiobook, and I was reading it on the pages at the same time, and it really kind of called out to me because of my anxiety as well. Like, I've never been so emotionally charged by a book. Like, I've cried during books. Like, I cried in Winter, I cried in Stars Above, but never like this. It was more like, oh my gosh, I know exactly how this person feels. Like, this hurts. Like, I've never read a character or a story written from the point of view of a character that was so similar to me, and it just kind of really struck me. I was reading her struggle, it just really kind of hit me, and I didn't cry, but like, I got really choked up and emotional, and it was right before my shift at work. I commented on Jessie from Jessie the Reader's video on what to do while audiobooking, and one of his things was to read the physical book while actually listening to the audiobook, which is what I was doing at that point. So I kind of shared a little bit of this with him on that video, and just said, you know, if it's an emotionally tied book, I wouldn't recommend doing that in public or before work, because I did that and it was difficult. Like, I went into work, and then I had rude customer after rude customer after rude customer, and I about had a panic attack during work. And I can't do that. I can't. I'm in retail. I can't do that. That I didn't want to read it or listen to it, but I did anyway after my shift because I wanted to get through it and wanted her to find some kind of peace. And I want that for myself too. I'm sitting there kind of going, oh, maybe this is what my boss meant when she told me that I used to be socially awkward, that my anxiety got the better of me and she just didn't know what that really entailed. And I think that's kind of what she meant when she told me a while back that when she first hired me 2 years ago that I was socially awkward. She didn't realize what she meant was I have anxiety and I sometimes lose control of it. And yes, I work in retail, so having anxiety in retail really is not a good thing. Just so you guys know, if like my voice shakes during the video or I awkwardly pause and do like stuff like that, silly little awkward things because I don't know what else to do, that's because of my anxiety. So please don't like think I'm just a weirdo for it. It's not that at all. I don't know how else to do this, and this is really stepping outside my comfort zone. So just kind of bear with me until I get used to this and until I feel more confident in this. Anyway, that is my little personal tidbit of the day. In spite of that, I really did love this book. It was actually really refreshing to read about somebody who suffers from anxiety as well. I just probably shouldn't have read it, like been fully immersed in it before work. Anyway, on to the book review itself. It was a really good book. It was long. It was a 12.5-hour audiobook, and it was really long, but I enjoyed it. Honestly, the Simon Snow stuff was my least favorite part of the whole book, just because, I don't know, I mean, I get that it was a coping mechanism for her anxiety, and that's how, like, my TV shows and my reading are for me, but the fan fiction, I've never been a big fan fiction person. I've done a couple, and I'm kind of trying to work myself into doing a couple other ones. I've just never been able to do it well. And when I do, it's based off of like dreams or just little ideas that pop in my head. It's not like this whole, it's not a ship thing most of the time. Like, none of the ones that I've even thought of have been ships except for with myself, which basically what happens in this book is that she goes to college and she feels kind of like her twin sister abandoned her, and her dad actually suffers from anxiety and manic as well, and she's worried about him being by himself because their mom left them when they were young. She really feels alone right now. And she doesn't really want to get to know anybody else. She wants to go home and be comfortable in her own skin again. Sorry, my hair was annoying me. I had to pull it up. Anyways, she just really wants to be able to be herself. And the only way she feels that she can do that is by writing her Simon Snow fanfiction. When I was reading this, Simon Snow reminds me of what I know of Harry Potter. That's what I read it as. It was like a knockoff of Harry Potter. So basically, the fan fiction she writes is slash gay fan fiction. So that's another area I don't know very well. That's just me. Like I said, the fan fiction wasn't my favorite part of this whole book, but it's a big part of the book, so I went through it, and I actually didn't mind it, but it just wasn't my favorite part of this book. Earlier I was saying I don't write much fan fiction unless, like, ship anything unless it involves me, which I need to explain that. A lot of the two fan fictions I've written so far have been based off of dreams that I've had, just because I've, like, marathoned a TV show that evening, and then I go to bed with it still in my head, and I'm like, oh, this guy was cute. So the two fan fictions I've written so far have revolved around dreams that I have had, and I work in other things from the fandom. They've both been the Flash Arrow Legends of Tomorrow fandom. I've got another one in my head for Legends of Tomorrow, and then I have another one in my head that is a crossover for the Flash and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And then the other one is for another crossover, and it is for, this is gonna sound so weird and make no sense to some people, but iZombie and Girl Meets World. I know that sounds totally insane and you're like, what the heck? Is she crazy? It sounded good in my head, I don't know. Tell me what you guys think if you guys watch any of those. Comment down below. Anyways, back to the book. It's just about her coming out of that. Like, she still uses it as her method to cope, but she kind of comes out of it through the whole book and is just kind of, finds peace. And like I said, I want to do that too. I give this book a 4.5 out of 5 stars. It wasn't my favorite, but it was really, really good and really emotionally striking. There's gonna be a tail in my face for a little bit because Indiana came to sit on my lap and wants to help me film. I hope that's okay with you guys. That's all I really can say without spoiling too much. I've probably already spoiled a bit in what I've said, but that's okay because it's my channel and I can do what I want. I'm Loki, I can do what I want. JK. Now, without further ado, here is the spoilery section for Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. Okay, so like I said earlier, the anxiety part of this, it was difficult to read, but at the same time, it felt good to read it. Like, it felt like a relief that somebody wrote a character that was kind of like me. And I mentioned that earlier, but it was really good to see that in a YA book. And I'm really glad that they gave her peace. Like, she finally got what she wanted, and she got to the point to where she calmed down, and she didn't feel like things were going to get messed up because of her. The part that really got to me the most, though, there was two parts that really got to me and really made me love and hate this book at the same time because they were so emotionally driven. First was when he finally got the courage to go to Levi's party and go see him and maybe try this thing with him. And then she saw him kissing another girl, and that broke her even worse than she already was. I read in the mall and I was just like, oh no, this poor thing. Like, I felt that pain. I was just like, I was on the verge of tears. I didn't actually cry in this, which kind of surprised me, but I was on the verge of tears, and it really resonated with me, and I understood why she hurt so bad. The other part that really got to me was when Ren got alcohol poisoning and she ended up in the hospital. That's all I have for you today, and I will see you next time. If you like this video, just like and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you next time. Bye!